As we all know, this year was a huge year in politics. From the debates about the presidential candidates to the Black Lives Matter movement to the riots and the protests and even the pandemic of COVID 19, there's been a lot of arguing going on. This year, especially, the political issue of the Electoral College came up and whether or not it should remain. Referring to my questionnaire, the class average on understanding the Electoral College is 7.2. So, for those who don't know what it is, allow me to explain. The Electoral College is a group of electors that form together every 4 years, as required by the Constitution, to elect a president and vice president. With a total of 538 members, the Electoral College is derived from the population of each state, but specifically, the college is chosen based upon the number of representatives each state has in the U.S. House of Representatives. So they have that number plus 2 senators per state. Now, PA, we are a larger state. We have 20 electors. After looking at the results of my questionnaire, 67% of the people favor the option to reform the Electoral College rather than the abolishment or even just keeping it how it is today. The 12th Amendment established the Electoral College and it was ratified in 1804. That was over 200 years ago. And throughout those years, states have been added to the United States, societal norms have changed, and I think it's time that we reform the Electoral College to fulfill its current needs. This year, I was able to vote in the presidential election for the first time, and I was worried that even if the candidate that I wanted to win will win the popular vote, but still lose to the Electoral College. So, from looking at social media and the news and discussing with just friends, this was a worry among more people than I even thought. This happened in 2016 with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. According to New York Times, Hillary had 65,853,625 votes, which was 48% of all the voters. Trump had 62,985,106. This is equivalent to 45.9% of voters. However, Donald Trump won with 306 electoral votes, whereas Hillary only had 232. This was due to the Electoral College and the 7 electors who voted for someone other than what their state wanted. Because of this, Trump became president. So, America is so divided over political parties, the electors would choose their party more than what the state wants as a whole. Now, don't get me wrong, I did not like any of the candidates, but if the electors went off of the popular vote like they're supposed to, technically Hillary would have won. Only 29 states have legal control over how electors cast their votes, and it must be based off of popular vote. Even though they must choose off of the popular vote, there's slim repercussions if they don't. Often, they just pay a small fine of like $1,000. This means 21 states do not, so they can choose whoever they want, not even looking at the popular vote. So, from 1804 to now is over 200 years ago. There's no way that the founding fathers, who were tired of arguing with each other for months about how to elect a president, planned on the Electoral College existing the same way hundreds of years later. So this was their last hope of an idea to pick a president. They didn't know centuries later, with so much radical change, that America would still be using an outdated policy. There was no such thing as a political party back then. It was more so just the candidate itself and what they stood for. The Electoral College was created based off of the Three-Fifths Compromise because half of the South at the time was made up of African American slaves. This allowed the states to have more representatives because they did not want the slaves to be counted as a person, but they wanted to have a bigger voice in the election. The Electoral College forces politicians to pay attention to the smaller states, but even with its intentions, politicians don't have to campaign in every state. So by this, I mean a Republican candidate like Donald Trump is not going to waste their time in Massachusetts, which is a Democratic state and has been. The Electoral College favors the battleground states such as PA or Florida. These states often are swing states with a lot of electoral votes. Like I said, PA has 20. The Electoral College is supposed to provide representation to each state, no matter the size. But how is it doing that if the election mainly comes down to the swing states? A new way of reform could be adopting what Nevada and Maine do. Now, they use the congressional district method. This allows the winner of each district to be awarded one of the electoral votes. This means the electoral votes can be split between the state, Democratic, Republican, whatever. The winner of the statewide vote gets the 2 remaining electoral votes. Doing this would encourage its candidates to campaign in more than the battleground states, providing even more statewide representation. The Constitution in itself should be reformed and changed to fit societal needs. There are a lot of amendments that we no longer use or that no longer suit our needs in this time period, but we still have them. So today we focused on the 12th Amendment and its importance and necessity of reform. If the Founding Fathers knew that the Electoral College was not perfect, but suitable for that time period, why do we still use it centuries later? Nothing in this country is the same as it was over 200 years ago. Every vote is important. As a democracy republic, every voice should be heard and considered. But the Electoral College makes it very difficult whenever half the states allow the electors to choose who they want. Make your voice heard. Thank you.